Hi, it's Barbara from One Senior Place. Diabetes is a disease that a lot of people don't like to talk about, have trouble controlling it, and are in denial. So today I'm here with Ron Aylward, and Ron is going to tell us his story about how he has dealt with diabetes and also introduce his dog Hunter and how Hunter helps him. So thank you for coming today, Ron.
Thank you, Barbara. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell me, first introduce the dog, because he's a very important part of your life.
He is, and most people know Hunter as opposed to me. They notice Hunter right away. It's kind of funny. It doesn't matter what store we're into. A lot of people will recognize Hunter and say, oh my gosh, there's Hunter. And I'm here too. But this is Hunter. He is a 5-year-old golden retriever, and he was trained to be able to smell blood sugars, highs and lows. So he is considered a service dog, but a diabetes awareness, well, really a diabetic alert dog is what he is. That's what his tag says. He's trained for additional things. I have some mobility impairments, and Hunter's trained for that as well.
Okay. All right. We love Hunter. We love you too, Ron.
Thank you. Yeah.
We do love Hunter.
And Hunter loves you because he feels you guys are kindred spirits.
Yeah, because of our hair color.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your experience with diabetes and how it's affected your life.
Sure. So diabetes has been in my life, type 1 diabetes, my entire life. I have a family history of it. My grandfather was a type 1 diabetic, and he passed away in his early 50s, complications of type 1 diabetes. Back then, they didn't have all the, medical science behind it, the whys, and they still use glass syringes, and they boiled them, and I have very vague memories of that. But I do remember how he handled his diabetes. Mm-hmm. And for myself, I didn't become a type 1 diabetic until I was in my 30s, which is more uncommon. It still happens. People could be any age. You could be in your 70s, 50s. I have other family members. For myself, there's a genetic profile. The next closest person was 27 in my family line that became a type 1 diabetic. Mm-hmm. But for myself, my journey began, besides my grandfather, I was over in the Middle East, in Iraq, and I started having some symptoms of type 1 diabetes, and I ignored them, thinking, no, this is not, it's hot. I had excessive thirst. I was always drinking. I'm always drinking anyway. I always need that bottle of water. But also I was extremely fatigued, and some depression. I didn't know if it was really just because of where I was and what I was doing, or if maybe I wasn't feeling well. And some of my soldiers pointed out that I had some mood swings, and it made a lot of sense that sometimes I was sounded drunk, even though I don't drink, and at times I was really crabby and irritable because my blood sugars were really high because it wasn't controlled. And one day we were out on patrol, and an IED went off and sent shrapnel through my body, and I was blessed to be able to be put back together. I walk now, got some extra body parts and hardware throughout my body. But one of the things that they told me when I woke up in Germany was that I was a type 1 diabetic. And I was very surprised. I didn't believe them. They kept testing my blood sugar and explained to me yes, and they actually knew I had a family history of it. I guess they knew a little bit more than I did at that time. Wasn't necessarily with it, but and I started my journey and became a type 1 diabetic and went on an insulin pump. Initially started off on a pen, then I went on a pump. And then my journey kind of took a unique turn, because less than a year later, my 5-year-old son became a type 1 diabetic. And what was kind of neat about that is I recognized the symptoms right away from my own denial, I guess. Mm-hmm. I watched my son get very sick, and I'm like, wow, he's spilling ketones. Something's not right. I just had that feeling. And so I tested him with my own monitor, which you're not supposed to do, but I did all that. Mm-hmm. And he was high. He was in the 700s, and I was in a panic. Took him to the emergency room. He spent a few days in Children's Hospital and became a type 1 diabetic. And started his journey using a pen as well, but only for 2 weeks. Then he went on an insulin pump. We kind of became insulin brothers,
Mm-hmm.
both having insulin pumps. So it's pretty neat.
So the equipment, the insulin pump, so do you readjust that after your meals, or does it automatically readjust? How exactly does that work?
That's a great question because not all pumps are
Mm-hmm.
the same. So some are automatic and can detect, and most of them, I'm old school. I have to actually put in because I know what I'm eating, and then before I eat, I'll put in my numbers. I count how many carbs, or I'm estimating how many carbs I'm going to consume in a meal.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of great tools out there now. Everything is on an app, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but otherwise, I still keep a book in the center console of my car,
Wow.
and it lists all kinds of restaurants and foods, of course. So you can eat anywhere you want because almost every restaurant's in there, or it's on the app. And it's really neat, just like calories, it'll tell you how many carbs.
Okay.
So you can guess pretty darn close. You can count pretty accurate nowadays.
Wow. And what about you said he wears a continuous glucose monitor?
He does. Yes,
Okay.
he wears a CGM. And I'd love to be able to wear one, but I can't. So I have Hunter.
Yeah.
Because I have the extra bonus hardware throughout my body and electrodes, I don't wear a CGM. I can't get the right reading. But Jake does. And that's really helpful to him because it will alert him and it talks to his pump.
Oh,
So
okay.
it keeps him in that range of 80 to 120.
Mhm.
Does a great job with that. If you use it right, if you're putting your numbers in when you forget, that's when you're not helping the CGM work.
Mhm.
The other bonus part is that, like all technology, there's an app for the CGM. And I can look on my phone and I know if he's compliant or not. I can tell if he's
okay.
doing the right thing. So it's pretty neat. Dexcom, so we have a combination of Dexcom and Medtronic, and I can tell
Mhm.
where he's at. So
Wow.
if he tells me, he's like, oh yeah, I tested and I checked. Nope, you didn't. I think you forgot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Technology is a wonderful thing
Yeah,
for
a lot of
for type 1.
technology. Yes, yeah, a lot of technology has come out since with
Since my grandfather, it's
with the
night and day.
involvement of the disease.
Yes.
There's been a lot of new technology. Yeah. So here at One Senior Place, we're going to be doing a 5-part series on diabetes, and Ron's story is just one little section of our series that we're doing. We're going to be talking about basic what is diabetes. We're going to talk about how to read the numbers, and a big one is going to be nutrition and diabetes. I hope you all join us for all of those, and really thank you, Ron, for your story. I think it will. It's eye-opening, and it lets people know that they're not alone in this process, whether they have type 1 or type 2. It's all this, the same concept, and we have to eat right, we have to exercise, and we have to just, live a little better to make ourselves healthier.
We can, and that's one of the neat things about type 1. Yes, it's genetic, or a virus can impact the genetics to trigger that off, and in a type 2, diet, exercise, that really controls it. Type 1, nope, it just is. Your pancreas isn't working, but where they both are the same is your pancreas isn't doing what needs to be done
Right.
to live that ultimate happy and healthy life. And diabetes is kind of a silent killer at times because people aren't aware or they ignore. Like myself, I ignored. I didn't want to believe. I thought I was a tough soldier. I'm well educated. I thought, it's like, nah, not me. Well, of course it was me. I have family history to show that it would have been me. But there's a lot of people out there that don't trust what their body is saying. And then it's too late. And then you see a lot of people with, amputations out there that didn't have to happen. Or you see people that have other issues. And that's one of the things about type 1 and type 2 that's in common is that because your pancreas isn't working, it's going to start impacting other organs. Your kidneys, your heart are the most common. And a lot of people will pass away not realizing that maybe they had type 2 or maybe they were type 1 because they had a heart issue or a kidney issue. And that all could have been prevented, starting with diabetes, if they would have managed that.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for watching.